All right, everybody, welcome back. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. We are at yet another position. Almost to the end here, guys. We are almost to the end of the draft work, and then we can start finalizing the draft work. So, a couple more positions left. These last couple are big ones, though. And this first one, I know a lot of Seahawks fans are going to look at this and go, well, not a lot of interest here. Not a lot going on here for the Seahawks. And I can already tell you that if the Seahawks spend a pick, especially an early pick, on an edge rusher, people are not going to be happy about it. People are going to be like, we don't need an edge rusher. Why are we taking an edge rusher? But I'm telling you, the most successful teams often will just keep investing in edge rushers and pass rushers and stacking them on top of each other and just trusting that they'll figure out a way to get them all together, all on the field at once, or on the field enough. Like, the saturation point for edge rushers seems like it's pretty high. So, you look at the Seahawks right now, they've got Uchenna Nwosu coming off an injury. He's definitely very good. Boye Mafe had a breakout year last year, 9 sacks. Then you have Derek Hall, who was a big disappointment as a rookie, but was a rookie. And then you've got Darrell Taylor, who's on a 1-year deal that is pretty much entirely non-guaranteed, so he could be released before the season. I mean, really, when you look at it like that, is it really that great, right? Like, is that really so good that you're just comfortable with not doing anything at the position? Like, you can live with it for a year, but realistically, you could definitely add on and make things better. Like, I've already said, I think this team is going to release Darrell Taylor before the season starts. He's only going to be due $20,000, so you can just do that. And the 20K is just like a pittance compared to the size of the overall salary cap. So I wouldn't be shocked if this team does decide, hey, let's get somebody in here better than Derek Hall will be. Let's get somebody in here who has tremendous upside going forward beyond 2024. Somebody who can take Nwosu's place in a couple years. Somebody who can maybe end up better than Boye Mafe will be, because I don't think Boye Mafe has superstar potential. And let's just stack the edge room, figure out the rest later. Wouldn't shock me, and it really wouldn't upset me as long as the player is the right player, right? So let's take a look at these guys. Let's keep an open mind. Let's understand that this is a position you can just keep stacking. Dallas Turner, pretty much the consensus number 1 edge in this class at this point. Alabama, 21 years old, so very young. He's definitely got an opportunity to get better, which he will need to get better, but the potential is off the charts. Workable size, 6'3", 247 pounds, 34 3/8 inch arms, 9 7/8 hands, so measurables are good. The size is especially good if you're planning on putting him in a 3-4 and having him play standing up at least some of the time as an outside linebacker. So that's good. The combine was legendary. Dallas Turner had a legendary combine at a time where there was not a lot of consensus about who the best edge in this class was. There were like 3 guys people were swapping back and forth. Dallas Turner silenced all the haters with that combine performance. 4.46 640, 1.54 10-yard split, and a 40.5-inch vertical. All 3 of those are some of the best scores by any edge rusher ever. Even the broad jump, not quite historic, but still excellent. 10-foot 7-inch broad. The guy is a phenomenal athlete. Absolute freak. Every big board has him in the top half of the first round. 4 have him in the top 7. The database has him 8th. So he is considered a clear first rounder, probably a top 10 pick. Very productive in 2023. 10 sacks, 14.5 tackles for loss, 53 tackles. Part of a really good Alabama defense. Team that made the playoff. 81.6 PFF grade, which admittedly is not as good as the typical top edge in a draft class. Like, usually we see these guys pushing up around 88, 89, but still, good season. 2022, he was quiet. Remember, he was playing with Will Anderson. Will Anderson was the top edge on that team, and Dallas Turner was second to him, and when he got his chance to be the number 1 guy in 2023, he turned it on. So the testing is historically good for an edge player, just absolutely off the charts, this guy. Now, he is a little bit smaller than the typical edge, so you would kind of expect it, but it doesn't matter. The guy still has amazing scores. His speed and acceleration to the outside to get around the tackles, his burst coming out of his stance, is absolutely inhumane. Tackles are going to be fighting for their life to keep up with him. There are not that many tackles in this league that are going to be able to reliably keep in front of Dallas Turner when he's trying to get the edge. He's a guy who understands leverage. He's a guy who understands how to get underneath the pads of offensive linemen to beat them. He's also athletic enough to handle coverage duties, which is why I say I really think this is going to work in a 3-4. I really think that Dallas Turner is also bringing those short area quickness and change of direction skills that you need to hold up in coverage, which you sometimes need to do in a 3-4 defense. He's got excellent bend around the corner as well. He's somebody who, when he's trying to get around the offensive lineman at the peak of his rush, he can just kind of have that bend to just smoothly go around, and it's really hard to do anything about as an offensive lineman. So he's got the bend of an elite pass rusher. He was used all over the place at Alabama. They lined him up all over their defensive front, so there is a chance to maybe use him in creative ways as well. And he's a guy who plays hard. He plays hard to the whistle. I don't think there's any concern here about him coasting because, oh, I'm Dallas Turner, I'm so great. I don't need to do anything other than the bare minimum. Like some people were thinking that with Will Anderson his last year at Alabama, but they're not thinking it here, I don't think. He's not quite as good as Will Anderson in all likelihood, but regardless, fantastic prospect. And as far as speed off the edge goes, you're not going to find better. You're just not. Now, unlike Will Anderson, there are some areas, notable areas, where Turner has some work to do. He's not that strong, and he doesn't hold up in the run game all that well. His ability to hold his gap is a little bit questionable because he's just not that strong. Even though he has long arms, which is why I feel like he's going to get better at this, he's not very good at shedding blockers. The stack and shed game is not where it needs to be. So when he actually gets squared up by a blocker, a little bit hard for him to get off of him. So he depends on his speed and athleticism and bend and all this stuff to win. He doesn't so much get it done if the offensive lineman manages to lay a good block on him. Once that happens, Turner's in a little bit of a pickle. He doesn't have a big repertoire of pass rush moves. He has his speed. And that's only going to get you so far in the NFL. So as the years go by over his rookie contract, he's going to have to pick this stuff up. Now, I believe that he will. He's very young, very talented. No reason to believe he wouldn't. He's got the body for it. But as of right now, he kind of plays a simple game based purely around his athletic prowess. Doesn't really set the edge all that well because, again, doesn't have the strength for it. These are things that can be fixed, but right now, they need to be fixed. So it's very easy to figure Dallas Turner out. Immediately, he's going to give you an impact, a big impact as a speed rusher off the edge. But in order for him to become an actual elite player, like somebody who lives in the Pro Bowl every year, makes All-Pro, going to have to develop some strength as a run defender, going to have to develop a little bit of discipline, and I'd say most importantly, he needs to develop some pass rush moves so he can actually beat an offensive lineman. I would still put him in the top half of the first round. I do think he's worthy of the top half of the first round. I'm not so sure about top 10. We'll see when I make my big board. My initial leaning is that he shouldn't quite be top 10, but it's very close, and I may have him in the top 10 when I actually do my big board, depending on how I feel about everything else. All right, next guy is going to be Jared Verse of Florida State. He's generally considered edge number 2. 23 years old. Interesting career arc for this guy. He could have been a first-round pick in 2023, but then he stayed back in college, and he had a season that was not any better. Not really, anyway. If anything, it was worse. You could argue it was worse in 2023, so he didn't help his draft stock, which that's a little bit of a warning sign, but we'll get to that. 6'4", 254 pounds, good size, a little bit bigger than Turner, 33.5-inch arms, which we don't love, 9 and 7/8 hands. Testing was really good. Really good 40, good 10-yard split, really good 10-yard split. Vert was decent. Broad jump was big, 92th percentile. That's the same as Turner. The 3-cone was bad. 20-yard shuttle, mediocre. Bench press, he killed. So it wasn't all great. The change of direction stuff isn't really there, but everything else is solid at the least. Some of it's really good. All the big boards have him in the top 21. Walter's the only one that has him outside the top 15, or excuse me, 17. So he's a mostly mid-first round guy. The database has him 13th, which I think is a reasonable expectation. Last 2 years, he's put up good numbers, although, again, it's notable. 2022, he actually probably put up better numbers, right? Same number of sacks, 4.5 more tackles for loss. He had a slightly higher PFF grade in 2023, but he didn't become the next Reggie White. He didn't become the next Lawrence Taylor. He was just good again. And there was some belief he would become that hyper-dominant guy in 2023 after such a good 2022 when he came back. Didn't happen. So, positives with Verse. He explodes out of his stance into his rush. Really quick first step around the edge, just like Dallas Turner. And unlike Dallas Turner, he has a nice set of moves that he can pull out. He's got the counters. He's got the swim move. He's got the spin move. He's got all these different pass rush moves that he can whip out to beat offensive linemen even when they're squared up on him. It's not just about, oh, I got to get the edge. I got to get the edge. No, he can actually engage an offensive lineman and just chop him out of the way. Really good using his hands for the most part. Got good hands. He holds the edge pretty decently against the run. It's not great. I'm not going to go crazy about it. Holds the edge decently against the run. That's something he has over Turner. He's got a pretty good amount of strength for a guy who's going to end up as an edge rusher in the NFL. Probably a Leo. And he's got bend. He's got the bend you look for in these elite rushers, and his effort has never been, to my knowledge, called into question at all. So you look at all that and you're like, well, why isn't Jared Verse higher than Dallas Turner? Still struggles a little bit with the block shedding. And unlike Turner, I'm not completely convinced it's going to get better because he's got 33.5-inch arms, which is okay, but it's not stellar. Turner's got longer arms, so that makes me believe that his lack of ability to shed is more of a, I just don't know how to do it that well yet. Verse is 2 years older, and he's got shorter arms. That makes me feel like maybe that's just going to be part and parcel of the Jared Verse experience in the NFL. So I'm not convinced that's going to get that much better. Sometimes he gets a little over-eager, over-aggressive, ends up leaving his run lane open. You know, that thing where they get upfield too fast, and then they leave their run lane wide open, the Darrell Taylor special. Not that he's Darrell Taylor, he's a much better run defender than that already, but Jared Verse does occasionally get a little over aggro, and there's the curious case of his production in 2023. It just, you would have thought it would have gone through the roof, and I understand he's playing on a great defense on a really good team, but there was an opportunity for him to go to like 14 sacks, and then everybody be talking about him, but now it's like, he's still really good, but now he's just a year older than he would have been last year. He might be less appealing of a prospect to some people. So I can't ignore the bizarre lack of improvement in 2023, but he still has a lot of the things that you want. I will say this, I think he'll be better in a 4-3 defense. Just put your hand in the dirt, rush the quarterback, play on the line. I don't know if I see him being a great 3-4 fit. I definitely think he's worth a pick in the top 20. Top 15, maybe. I'm kind of more leaning somewhere in that 16 to 20 range would be my preferred. And I don't know if he would fit here. I'm not sure. He's a little bit bigger than Dallas, and looking at his skill set, it might just be a little bit better for him to just play on the line. All right, I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Those are the two best edge players in this crop. Let me know what you think of them. And we'll be moving on to other first-round guys shortly here. But, yep, Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, going to make some teams very happy this offseason, I think.